So I'll be making wholemeal and white bread flour, and these are the ingredients that will be required. So I'll be using wholemeal flour, strong white bread flour, as olive oil, a little bit of salt, sugar, and of course the yeast. So I'm using the fast action dried yeast, which you can find in Tesco. Here I've measured out 250 gram of the wholemeal flour and 250 gram of the strong white bread flour. Here I've measured out 280 gram of lukewarm water, which should be about between 35 and 37 degrees Celsius. I'm now going to take one teaspoon of sugar and place it into the water to activate the yeast. Now I'm going to add 7 grams of this fast action dried yeast, which you can find in Tesco. So this needs to be stirred and left to be activated for a couple of minutes while you prepare the rest of your bread mixture. Okay, so I've thoroughly mixed the yeast and I'm now going to leave it aside. So I'm going to use this metal pot to bake my bread because I don't actually have a bread baking tin just yet. So I'm going to grease this up with the olive oil. Alright, this is all greased up now. So going back to the 250 grams of the wholemeal and the 250 grams of the white bread flour, I'm going to add 9 grams of salt. Make sure to mix properly at this stage. Okay, it's now ready to have the yeast on there. So you can see the yeast is nice and frothy, so it's ready to be put in the bread mixture. So I'm just going to put that in there now. I've measured out 20 grams of the olive oil, which I'm also going to put into the mixture. I'm now going to use my wooden spoon to mix everything together now properly. Okay, now that I've mixed it properly, it's now ready to be put on the surface for me to knead with my hands. Okay, so I'm now going to be mixing this and kneading all the mixture on the surface here. Now this needs to be done for 10 minutes. It shouldn't need any more water or oil or any other flour. If you've measured everything out correctly, then this should be perfectly fine. You just continue mixing for literally 10 minutes. So go ahead and use a timer to literally measure 10 minutes of kneading. So the way I would knead would be to sort of go like this, use your full hand, press it, fold it over, and then press. And I'll go in with both my hands in a bit as well. Okay, well that was a real workout. It's all nicely kneaded now. I'm now going to put it in the greased bowl or greased pot that I prepared earlier. Okay, so I'm putting it in the pot, just covering it all with the olive oil. Make sure it's nicely covered. I'm now going to cover this with a clean cloth and then place it in a warm area of the house, which should be about room temperature of around 21 to 23 degrees Celsius. And this needs to be incubated for about an hour or so. And if it's a bit longer, it should be fine, but an hour and a half or an hour should be fine. Okay, so the dough has risen quite a lot now. I'm going to take it out of the pot. There we go. So it nicely just slid out because of the oil. I'm going to now press the dough like this and get the air out. It's called knocking the air out of the dough. I'm now going to press the dough like this to get the air out. So this is now a nice round shape. I'm now going to get some water and just cover the top surface so that we can add the seed on top. So here's the seed, which I'm now going to put on top, like this. I'm now going to place this inside the pot again. And I'll add, go ahead and add more seeds if you want. So I'm going to add a bit more. Now make sure that all the corners are nicely filled in the tin. Okay, so I filled this up now, making sure that it's touching all the edges. Okay, now this needs to be proofed, so we're going to put this in a warm place again where there is no draft, and wait for half an hour to 1 hour until the bread has risen towards the top here, so 1 hour or so. Okay, so there's only 10 minutes left of the rising process, so I'm going to now turn the oven on to 190 degrees Celsius. So I think that should be fine there. Okay, so the bread has risen now quite nicely. It's now ready to be put into the oven. So here's the oven at 190 degrees Celsius. We'll put it straight in. I will now wait 30 minutes for the bread to bake. Okay, 30 minutes is up. I'm now going to take it out of the oven. Okay, so here's the bread from the oven. I've just taken it out. It took actually more than 30 minutes for it to have that brown color. I've taken it out of the pot. I'm now going to put this back into the oven for further 5 minutes so that it becomes more crusty. Right, my bread is now ready to eat.